So this is the podcast number 100.
100.
It is. And, we're not going to have anybody really famous here today other
Ho,
than
ho, 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 ho.
Courtney.
Yeah.
The rest of us pure mortals are. So anyhow, if I had an echo, I'm in Tennessee and this house has no furniture hardly in it yet. So, but welcome everybody. This is the 100th podcast of We Talk Photo, and we've had some really great people on, ranging from Joe McNally, to Paul Thompson, the Guy Tao, to the
Scott Kelby.
Yeah, I mean we've had them all on.
And some not so great.
And today we're other than Bill Fortney, who and in all seriousness, is in that category. The rest of us, and I'll put myself in there, we're just camera owners trying to impress everybody with all our great photographs. But anyhow, John, happy 100th podcast.
Happy 100th, Jack. And folks who are listening, we didn't have any agenda for today other than getting a bunch of people together and just having a conversation to see where it goes. So it's a little bit party.
Let's tell them about YouTube. So we're actually gonna put up a YouTube. You didn't do that yet today, did you, John?
No, sir.
What have you been doing all day?
I know, I slack.
So we're going to do a YouTube channel for We Talk Photo. And now, since we record on Zoom, once in a while when we want to, we'll record the video of our podcast. So if someone wants to watch the video of the podcast, they could go to YouTube and watch it. And this will be the first video. So you're going to see a whole lot of people on here, folks. We've got about 3 million people who listen to our podcast. I think it's about 3.5. We're international. We've got people from all over the world. We have people actually in Denmark, right, John?
Right, Denmark, my people.
So I'm going to go through a quick introduction for those of you who you're going to hear voices. But if you go to YouTube, in the show notes here on the podcast, John will put the link for YouTube in there when he gets it up, and you'll be able to see who's here. So I'm going to start from the bottom right because we have maybe the most important person here. You always knew who was important on the old Johnny Carson show when they came on first, and they talked with Johnny for 5 minutes, and they said, "Well, Johnny, I'd love to stay, but I got to go because." I'm like Charlton Heston or somebody of that ilk, and they always got to leave early. That's how you knew you were important on the Carson show. And Neil Powell, who's in Bloomington, Indiana. Let's see, Neil. I met Neil in
Columbia River Gorge.
Columbia River Gorge, and ironically, Neil had some ties with Bill with the Great American Photography Weekend, and I immediately saw that Neil had an expensive camera and an expensive tripod, and had no ability to get any photographs. But he impressed me with the gear, so I started talking to him, thinking that if I talked to him real nice, maybe he'd pay me about $200 for a workshop, because that's what I was charging then. But I found out that Neil couldn't get into Indiana University as an undergrad, so he went somewhere else, and then went to Indiana as a graduate student in business.
Yes.
So, Neil's like, he's a tycoon. He's an entrepreneur. They wanted him on Shark Tank, but he decided he wanted to learn how to be a photographer instead. So he's here, but no, Neil's got to leave here in a couple of minutes. So Neil, thank you for being with us. So
I just want to call in and say thanks to you and John for putting together a great podcast. I mean, 100 is quite a accomplishment. So I look forward to the video versions and being on again. So, nice job. I love you both.
And I love you too, man. And as we always say, it's quality over quantity. So it's 100 quality podcasts.
And it's one more than 99. I mean, what an accomplishment.
It is. Yeah. Most of them stop at 99. You guys made it over that hurdle.
Yeah, you click
Nice
that
work.
extra button over.
So
Like
Neil,
2000.
I'll have to start subscribing.
Neil's got this. I noticed that's me. Who's that other guy next to me? Is that you?
That's me. Yeah, that's me.
You look like you're constipated, man.
Well, I was on a Alaskan trip with you and John, so it could be very well true. Who knows?
Well, anyhow, next to Neil with the picture of John in his background is Mike Cooper. And we used to call Mike Cooper the cropper because it was never a picture that Mike made for many, many years that he didn't crop. And it was horrible. But now I call him the AC. He's the anti-cropper because he's really gotten away from that. Mike. So Mike, unmute yourself. I got a question for you.
Fire away.
So other than going to Alaska with us and a couple other things, if you take the Alaska trip out, how many frames do you think you've photographed in the last year and a half? Take Wyoming and Alaska out.
Take Wyoming and Alaska out. Those are the best ones.
And forget the kids, forget your family.
Oh, no family
Maybe-
shots either? Okay, now you.
Yeah.
Anything else I need to take out?
No, not, we're on video, so please, let's keep it quiet.
A small number,
Yeah.
a few thousand.
Yeah, Mike works really hard. Mike is one of the top 10 most important people at General Motors. We won't tell you. But Mike is in Michigan and works for General Motors, and Mike's a good friend and a fun to be around. Mike is, in Jack Grant Photography, I have my mythical organizational chart, and Mike is the director of entertainment and food and beverage. Mike knows where to eat and where to drink.
There you go.
So all you guys that are here, I've known for a long time, but nobody longer than Dale Sprock. And some of you folks don't know Dale, some of you do. Dale, I'm not going to do it. You tell how do we know each other? And don't tell everybody you know my wife longer than me.
Well, that of course is true.
It is.
But I didn't put you guys together, so that I can't take any credit for that or any blame.
Or anybody.
But we were competitors in another industry that I'm still in, but Jack exited from, and we were selling videotapes and audio tapes and stuff to retail merchants and bucking heads once in a while up in the West Sacramento area, and it goes back a long ways.
And the Bay Area.
Oh, the Bay Area, yeah.
Dale was my counterpart at Maxell. I worked for the factory at TDK. Dale was and still is a very, very rich independent sales rep. You know how those guys are. Chris, you deal with them all the time. You know how rich they are and how they never work. They worked 2 hours a day.
Yeah, that's why I'm here today, not working.
Just get the account and then wait for the checks to roll in.
Exactly. But anyway, Dale is a dear friend and a hell of an audiophile. It's too long to go into Dale's audio expertise, but Dale is Dale's a lot of fun. And Dale owns a camera as well. He's another one doesn't get out as much as he should, but we yank him around.
The second half of the year, I'm changing that.
Yeah, you're going to come to Tennessee.
Got that.
That's right.
I think a lot of people are going to come to Tennessee, Jack.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be good.
Jack is going to single-handedly increase the state's tourism.
You can all sleep on the back deck. Damn thing's big enough. Jesus.
Yeah, let's see who's got the biggest deck.
You have the highest. I may have the biggest.
Yeah.
So,
Is that in length or?
I'm going to leave Fortney for last because that's going to take the longest. Next to Bill Fortney, who made that last comment, is Chris LaPeake. Chris, man, what hasn't Chris done? Chris has done a lot in his life, and Chris is another Indiana guy who I met. How did we meet, Chris?
I thought you were going to ask me this,
I
and
know how we did it. You when you were running outdoor photo gear, you sent me an email. Wanted to know if you could use you wanted to use one of my photographs because they were so amazingly good.
that's right. That's right. We put them on the
And I
front part of
learned
the
everything I
website.
did from Courtney, so you could. I don't know why you didn't call him, but that's another subject. So I called you back and we got talking and I said, why Louisville? I used to play down the Galt House. And you said, yeah, well, I went to school in Indiana. So I went to school in Indiana. Turned out that we were, I think we lived kind of in the same dorm for a year, not at the same time. We both played in a marching band for a while.
Both played trumpet.
Both played, well, I played trumpet.
Yeah, I just kind of.
Yeah, you could have played for Purdue. They don't use mouthpieces enough.
Yeah. It's to get the chicks, right? They really flock to trumpet players.
Standing on the field the first time I'm in the marching band in Indiana, and I'm looking at the Purdue bands on the field, and half the people on the field don't have mouthpieces on their instruments, and they just put them in so they can march single file about a 10-mile line from the top of the hill down into the field. So anyway, yeah, Chris and I became good friends, and we've known each other for forever, and it's all good. Next to Chris is Dennis Yarborough. Dennis has been on a. Dennis, are there any workshops we've done you haven't been on?
Yes, I'm certain there are.
Yeah. Well, we got some new ones coming next year too, so it's gonna.
That's what I understand.
Dennis is just a super human being and one of the best woodworkers that I've met today. He's above Dennis, this is hard to explain, is Mr. Dudley Hawthorne. And Dudley, we met on workshops, and Dudley's become, Dudley was a groupie for a long time. And we just felt so bad for Dudley that we brought him into the inner circle. We have this inner circle, and everybody here is in it. And it's just, if Bill can explain it, it's just kind of people who we just like to hang out with, whether we do a workshop or not. Next to Dudley is me, and you don't want to know about that, and then John. So we left Bill for last. Bill, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me?
The last shall be first.
That's a line that we put in all our things. I'm gonna ask Neil to explain, because I'll start crying, back in the old days.
Explain, Bill.
Yeah, no,
That would make anybody cry, I can tell
Good
you.
luck. Yeah.
Bill is the Godfather. Bill is if you think about Bill, he's the trunk, and every one of them branched off and met each other probably through Bill or some connection, minus one. And he's just been an influence on every one of us, and then some. The last
they have
50 years.
Lombardi tree, the Lombardi tree. Now they have the Belichick tree, and now they have the Parcells tree, and all these football. In photography, we have the Fortney tree.
Yeah, I mean, I was just exchanging notes. Bill probably doesn't read my text. He's too important to read anything from me. But
he didn't read my text.
I just sent him. I was thinking about this the other day, and
I was up there the other day. Then why I found out, Neil, Bill can't read.
that explains it.
I was waiting for that.
He thinks his sweatshirt says hello.
Yeah.
So that's why he always wears that one.
Yeah. Is that not what it says?
But seriously, I was thinking about this the other day, and I would say 90% of the people that I have in my inner circle and call friends and love as an adult comes from Bill Fortney and my connection with him way back 30 years ago, starting at my first GAPW weekend and going from there. I mean, it's just amazing from what he's done with his light ministry and all the everything he does with nature photography. It's just amazing. So as Jack was saying, I have to boogie out of here for a meeting, but Bill, you're truly godfather of the photography world. So thank you for everything you've done for me.
Well,
and
listen, I
again,
tell you,
John and
you're
Jack.
making me blush, but when it's all over, and I just turned 77, so that's coming up.
Don't do it during the podcast there.
I
please.
try not to. Let's send this thing off. Great.
Yeah.
No,
Thanks, Bill.
I've had a lot of wonderful things happen to me in my career, but nothing means as much as the people that I've gotten to know and come to really care about. And I'm looking at 9 of them right now, but it just is to me in photography, that's the greatest treasure is the other photographers that you get to know and learn from and get to spend time with them, and they become really special to you. And I don't think that when I'm gone, there'll be a single photograph I've ever made that anybody's going to care about. But boy, the friendships and the relationships are what means the most to me.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
So with that, I'm gonna sign off and talk to y'all later.
All right, Neil, thanks
Okay,
for
take
being
care.
here.
Thank you for
Yeah.
the kind words, Neil.
You're
Neil,
welcome.
see you.
See you
Yeah.
later. Bye.
Bye.
Here. Wherever you're going.
Bill
Well-
is a force. He is a force.
He
It's
is.
amazing.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Jack, you know one of the most important things about Bill, don't you?
He likes to eat squirrel.
No, he knows Joe McNally.
Oh my gosh, he does.
That's a true story.
These two characters, we're in Moab, Utah, and we're out in the field, and they on this. They knew I didn't have a 16 to 55 2.8, and both of them had one. And so they're standing shooting next to me, and Jack says to Dudley, "Boy, this is a great lens, man. I tell you, everything I shoot with it's tack sharp." And Dudley says, "Yeah, me too. I think if I could only have one lens, it would be this one." And then we go to breakfast the next morning, and the conversation when I hit the table is how much they love their 16 to 55. And I said, "Guys, I've got the 18 to 55. I know it's not as powerful as your lens, but it works fine for me." And they said, "Oh, but you really ought to have this." Well, B&H delivered one to me the next day.
Well,
And thanks to them.
What happened was you were in the car and he says, "Well, I'm not buying, I don't need one." He said, "I got this on the list." I said, "Bill, just order it now. Just order it because you're going to buy it." "No, I'm not going to buy it. No, I'm not going to buy it." I said, "Just order it." And he didn't do it, but when we weren't around to watch him, Dudley, he ordered it. But the one thing I have to say for the folks who don't know Bill Fortney here, Bill's from a little town in eastern Kentucky, and this town is totally devoid of any kind of artistic prowess or any kind of artistic accomplishment. And now, Bill still lives there and the town continues to be devoid.
Oh, come on now.
That's probably the most true thing you've said so far. So,
But, other than probably my wife and my yellow lab, no disrespect, Mike. I know I've told you I loved you so many times back before we had the intervention, but Bill is my closest friend in the world, and he means a lot to me. Not my Sprock is my oldest. I better not get Dale going. Dale could tell stories here.
Well, we need at least
We have a lot.
one good story from back in the day.
A very embarrassing one.
Yes, please.
On the fly. Come on, come up with it.
So are there, when I get Bill and Chris Clapete together, either one of them or together, I love the Tennessee and Kentucky jokes. If any of those are
Kentucky and Indiana jokes. What's interesting, Chris, is that how Indiana and Kentucky don't get along, and Tennessee and Kentucky don't get along. What's the common denominator there?
Yeah. Sure is. But you know, I was going back to Bill. You know who really loves Bill is any camera bag manufacturer.
Oh,
Or
Yes, I just watched it happen. I was
Yeah.
up on Friday. I watched it happen. Bill,
I
how many
took-
camera bags did you order and return in the last month?
well, I took delivery of 2 today. Well, now, listen, in fairness, I'm working on a serious article on YouTube video about how do you portage camera gear when you get to be my age.
Wait. Portage means what?
Somebody else
Carry.
carrying it.
Move.
You don't walk anywhere.
You hire a Sherpa.
Folks,
Yeah, that's the solution.
Yeah.
folks that are listening to this podcast, Fortney has 2 books that sold a lot, by the way, about photography. One's called America from 500 Feet, and the other one's America from 500 Feet, Volume 2. Am I right, Bill?
That's correct.
Okay. Bill's new book is going to be called America from 5 Feet from the Car. Why in the world do you have to worry about carrying a camera bag? You don't walk anywhere. You walk 10 feet.
That's true.
They're
That's true.
still important. They're still important.
You know, it is, this is going to border on confession, but one of the things I enjoy more than anything else in photography is getting several camera bags down and taking all the gear and putting it in the floor
He does.
and moving it from bag to bag to see what'll fit here and what'll fit there. And but the problem for me is I just recently bought a f-stop tilapia 50-liter bag, and it came in, and I put all the stuff in it that it would hold,
Tilapia.
and I couldn't get it off of the floor to put on my bag. So I took everything out, put it back in the box, and shipped it back. But I'm really in the process of trying to find a way to have. I've got a theory. If you own something, if you own a camera body or a lens, and you don't have it with you, why do you own it?
Good point.
So I just recently have come up with a solution. I'll wrap this up, but I bought a like a Pelican case, except it's made by a company called Nanook. And it is big enough to hold 2 bodies and all the lenses I'd like to have with me, which is
Camera bodies or just bodies?
camera body.
Okay, just checking.
And then,
No wonder you couldn't pick it up.
but it's got wheels, so I can roll it to the car, put it in the back of the SUV, and then go out to shoot. And when I get where I'm going, I just bought 2 bags from a company called Wotan. Let me see if you can see that. They're they're Cordura, but they feel like the old canvas stuff. But that bag that I just held up has got a body with a lens and an extra lens and a battery and a few little things, and it weighs 6 pounds, which for me at my age, that's about what I want to walk around with. But if I'm out somewhere and I think, boy, I sure wish I had the 50 to 140, walk back to the car, take one lens out, stick that one in, and go shoot with it. And it's gotten to that point with me that that's the only way I'm going to be able to utilize all the stuff I own, is if I have it somewhere that I can get to it easy, but not try to carry it all the time.
You can put 1 lens in each bag, Bill, and you would still have 24 bags in your office.
Well, I want to sell off my bags, but nobody pays anything for used camera bags.
No, they don't.
I mean, and I could put them on a table in the driveway and have a yard sale, and people would come over and say, "What's that? What do you do with it? What do you put in it?" I live in Corbin, Kentucky. Nobody even knows what a camera bag is here.
Who knows what a camera is? Dude?
Put a little meth in there, you know.
You can do it.
You could definitely move it that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm working on.
But Bill, that is a strategy, because people do buy larger rollers to organize and store when they're traveling by car, and then they buy a smaller bag for when they're, head out to take a picture.
I know how to get rid of those bags in Corbin, Kentucky.
That's it.
Call them squirrel bags.
You know, I've been catching this in the ear from Jack as long as I've known him. I have never eaten a squirrel in my entire life. Now I know people that eat squirrel, but
Well,
I've eaten a
I've
squirrel.
never eaten a squirrel.
I think Cooper.
I've eaten
Oh, there's-
alligator.
Wait,
But,
there's way too many people that raised their hands. I
Yeah.
count 3 people that have eaten squirrel on this call.
Yeah.
Bill,
It's
Not
not that good. It's not that good.
have you eaten rattlesnake?
You
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
had it play
Yeah.
my head.
This is a family. Tell us, come up with a, did you have time to think of a story?
Who?
Dale.
Dale Sprott.
No, I haven't. I've been watching you guys, fascinated by that. I mean, we'd have to. I don't know. What you're going to go to CES? You want to go to Russ's office? Or you want to talk about personalities? We've met a whole cast of characters that probably could have books written about them, but it's in a different industry. Like you guys could have books written about you. But you know, it's been a great ride to be in both of these worlds for me, and to have Graham here is great.
The Russ he's talking about is Russ Solomon from Tower Records.
Oh yeah.
And Dale, you know, it's funny, when I had a meeting at Tower, I'd be driving back out of the meeting. The first call I made was not to Linda, it's to Dale, to give him the new whatever crap I got from Tower. And then Dale would, but whenever I get the new price sheet from TDK, I'd call Dale and give him the TDK prices. He'd give me the max sell prices, and we illegally
Collusion.
read. It was highly illegal, but it's okay. It's all good. You know?
Statute of limitations and all that.
Oh yeah, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I remember the time when Russ Solomon looked at, I don't know, Dale, you might have been there, might have been at one of the Tony Valerio golf tournaments. And Russ Solomon looked at us and goes, "What do you guys know about this downloading music?"
Yeah.
He said, "It's going to be really big, Russ." And he goes, no way. They're going to want to hold those records, you know. Move.
Yeah. Now, the last time I saw him was the introduction of the movie that was made about the demise of Tower Records, and it was a great event underneath the Tower Theater and Drugstore where it started in Sacramento, which Jack knows quite well. But you know, Tom Hanks's son made this movie, and it was quite a good movie. But you know,
All things shall pass.
yeah, and the amazing part is that Tower Records is still a huge entity in Japan, because the bankruptcy judge let the things lapse, and they have Tower Records with multi-store, 6-7 stories high all over Japan now. It's pretty amazing.
Well, we could Dale and I could write a book on some of the people we've called on. We had a distributor in the South Bay called M&A, and this was Mike Patel. And Mike was not only the biggest distributor for Blank Media, he was also the largest distributor of pornography on the West Coast.
I'm surprised I didn't know him.
And
Well, you could have known Kong Wong. He was transporting stuff over to China, making a big business.
I came up through the same business. It's amazing.
Hong Kong, but finally the accounting department of TDK called me up and I said, you know, I know you're just netting this guy's price out with market development funds. Could you? We need some proof of performance. So I called Mike up and I said, Mike, you got to do a flyer. I got to send something into these guys to show what you're spending the money on. So he sends the advertising into TDK without me seeing it. And it was a big envelope, went to the girls in the advertising department, and it was his catalogs of pornography videos. I got called up from the attorney and says, Jack, you got to call this guy. We're going to get killed here. You know, and then, so there was Mike, there was HKW, Hong Kong Wong, and then there was Terry Rainbow, remember Terry? And we could do Danny, you know, what's his name? Danny McCloskey.
McCloskey, yeah.
Yeah, but nobody knows this. So Cooper, you've been too quiet. Tell us a story.
I want to know one of the funniest stories, Mike. What's a funny thing that you saw Jack do?
Oh, I think the funniest story that I can think of is the first time I met Jack. Jack remembers the workshop. Should,
Oh,
I-
I
should
thought you were good. I thought you could, yeah, screw up. I thought you were gonna do another one. I thought of another story that you were
Well,
gonna
let's
do.
hear the story.
well, you mean the body snatchers one?
Yeah, but do the one you were gonna tell first.
Oh, well, yeah, the first workshop I ever did with Jack was a bit of a disaster. It was it was in Ohio, and he had another a workshop lead, who I won't name, but yeah, the other workshop lead just kind of disappeared on the next to last day.
Everybody.
And yeah, everyone was a little bit confused, but Jack kind of kept things glued together, and we carried on. But it was just a very odd thing, and I'm like, and a guy that I was there with is like, what is going on here, kind of thing. It was just pretty funny. My friend Russ, who shoots a lot, but he shoots more sports stuff now than nature. But it was quite the experience. But yeah, the body snatcher story was probably funnier. Yeah, we were in Jackson, Wyoming at the Silver Dollar Bar. There she is. Yep. And there was a couple there that were acting very strangely, and of course we had several drinks, and we call them the kidney snatchers, the organ snatchers, because they were kind of acting like they were trying to coax us out of the building, and there we go. And we'd end up in a bathtub full of ice and missing a kidney or liver or something. So. And then, yeah, to make matters even funnier, after Jack and I and Tom left, we get up the next morning and find out that Tom
Here's the host.
actually,
Look at him.
Tom went back by himself. Tom went back by himself to the bar because he was bored. And we're like, dude, like, these people were up to no good. And
I think he thought that
yeah,
something was actually gonna happen.
yeah. So
If you-
some of us were a bit wiser, but Tom went back. Didn't you have to dare him?
Yeah.
can read.
Well, it's part of the adventure, it's not, as we've been saying more and more, and Bill, as you said today too, this is about people you meet and the experiences we have and being immersed and engrossed in a passion such as photography, I think leads to such great adventures and great connections and just great experiences that we've all had throughout life. And kind of our cameras are the things that have at least brought this group together here.
John, tell him how you and I met.
There's Tom.
There's Tom.
There's
I think, Jack, you and I met, there was a Canon Explorer of Light giving a presentation nearby and nearby both of our homes. And because unbeknownst to us at the time, we lived about a mile from one another. And somehow I ended up talking to you at this Explorer of Light. And I thought, oh, shit, this guy's kind of an ass. He's kind of got that East Coast gruff
I had
kind of,
No, it's true. It was Daryl Galeen, and I had an
Yeah.
interest. Remember?
Yep, it was Daryl. And I thought, I'm going to give it a try and went out and hung out with you in the Eastern Sierras and shit, that's been years ago. And we just kept on going and going and going.
Well,
Once you get past Jack's gruff exterior, he's a big teddy bear.
He's still kind of an East Coast asshole, but I mean,
Well, yeah.
I'm gonna be more east than I was on 2 months.
that's right. You're moving back east now. So,
First time I met
It's
Jack,
not the
he
same.
came to a workshop in Yosemite with Galen Rao, and or Galen was the star. I was just running it, but I met Jack, and I thought he was kind of an interesting guy. And we were standing down near the Merced River, and I said, "Well, now, Jack, what do you do for a living?" And he said, "Well, I'm a trumpet player." And being the idiot that I am, I said, "Can you make a living playing a trumpet?" And he said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "I play for concerts and recording sessions, and, I do okay." And once again, stupid remark, I said, "Have you ever played with somebody I would have heard of?" And he turned to me and he didn't say it ugly, which I thought was cool. He said, "Have you ever heard of Frank Sinatra?" Boy, I wanted to be his friend that very moment. And we went on to
Frank and I
become
were-
good buddies.
Frank and I were very tight, In fact, he called me the other day, Frank.
Yeah.
From the great beyond.
Great. Oh, he died?
I don't know.
I guess I lost
Art
him.
Pepper died.
I think you can make a better living playing saxophone.
Oh, there we go.
Kenny
That's-
G. Jack loves Kenny.
It had to
G.
make an appearance, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm driving down the road with Jack in Death Valley, and I'm still getting to know him. And I was trying to think of something musically to talk about. And I said, well, hey, what do you think of this guy, the saxophone player that's real popular, Kenny G?
Oh, my
I
God.
thought he was going to run off the highway. I mean, he just freaked out. And he told the joke you've all heard. He said, you know, if you're in a room, you've got a gun, you've only got 2 bullets, and in the room with you is Saddam Hussein, Hitler, and Kenny G, who do you shoot? And I said, I don't know. And he said, you shoot Kenny G twice. And I pretty much knew at that point how he felt about Kenny G. I sent him a Christmas Kenny G CD about every
Oh,
year.
that was nice of you, Bill.
Yeah, I love the non-response I get from him.
It's always fun when you're in a different car with Jack and then you call up their phone. And when he answers, we're all broadcasting Kenny G right into his car.
They do that.
Yeah.
But I just,
Yeah.
Dennis,
Yes,
you're okay.
Still awake.
Dennis is in Oklahoma, so you never know when a tornado is going to blow through the house there.
that's true.
You know,
I got one foot in the shelter.
No, right. You moved out of a mobile home. You're
Well, my wife moved out of a mobile home. She left me in there.
excellent. Excellent. So Dennis, let's see. Where was the first? I'm trying to remember the first time you did something with Bill and I. It's just.
I think it was in the Smokies one spring.
Imagine that. With
About
only
7 years
a
ago.
year there for the last
Right.
25 years. That's amazing.
Yeah. Talking about stories, one of my favorite memories that's going to live with me for a long time, at least I hope I live a long time, was we were coming back from the Tetons. Jack had invited me to come and ride with him. And we were driving through eastern Idaho in the snow with a little bit of slick spot here and there. And Jack was explaining the finer points of jazz and orchestra music to me. And so for about 4 hours, I enjoyed a detailed lecture about music that really was very entertaining and very, very rewarding. I enjoyed it. But
It's not a whole.
Well,
lot.
nothing
good
beats, Dennis, nothing beats that than one year I rode out with Jack to the Tetons and I had to sit in the back seat of his Tacoma, which is not made for human people.
No
But
names.
because the other person that came along with us kind of needed to sit in front. So I got crammed in the back with his clothes rack and everything else for 14 hours.
Oh,
Oh, God.
You know,
Yeah.
whenever you carry people, it's not you guys, but when there were times, Bill and I, when we were running workshops, we'd actually carry attendees with us once in a while. We can't do it much anymore because of the insurance, but you always knew the attendee because the one that wanted to sit in front, they mysteriously got car sick. They go, "Oh, I get car sick. I have to sit in front." Poor shit. Oh. They just should have said, I really just want to sit in front, you know?
Yeah.
When Jack was having his eye problems, I was with him out
My what problem?
somewhere out, your eye problems. And you had surgery on one eye and you were blind as a bat and you're driving your truck. And we had to make a detour and he ran over a highway sign that was bigger than his truck. I mean, I saw him going right towards it and I thought, you know, he sees it. He's going to swerve at the last minute.
He's got one eye.
Just crushed that bad boy.
Wow.
It was an adventure.
It was. Normally I don't mind sitting in the back until we go to Alaska. And then I'm like, I'm going to sit in the front of the airplane. That's the one place I will ask to sit in front.
You guys are lucky because the last trip, John, I actually got to sit in the middle seat because I wasn't the fattest.
That's true.
Dudley
That's
got
true. You know,
I think
To
every
balance
trip
the
for
load.
me, I was in the co-pilot seat.
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff, Dudley.
I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, good.
Who hasn't been- Gail, you gotta go to Alaska, and Chris, you gotta go to Alaska.
I gotta go to Alaska, but I'd really, one of the most fun and more out of this world experiences that I did with you is the Monument Valley. I mean, it was a long time ago, one of the early trips. But, getting up in the morning, watching the sun come up down there is just an out of this world experience.
We're gonna be there again this year, but we are sold out, right,
I
Jim?
know.
Yep, we are.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
should-
it's a magical landscape.
It
Why is
truly
it
is.
why is it I could sell workshops out with John and I can't do that with Bill? Why?
No.
Well, I think that's a pretty simple thing to explain.
Oh, no, Kenny G, you gotta be kidding.
I tried to warn all you guys that I was gonna be like Rickles, on this thing, But I'm trying to keep my reputation up,
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Jack,
we'll
we're
keep
really
it family
looking forward.
friendly.
We're looking forward to have you in this part of the country.
Do we have any Pedersen stories?
Nope.
I have a Pedersen story. I'll try to edit it. So we're doing a workshop. I won't say where because somebody might have been there that's listening to this podcast. And there's two really great photographers that I know that have the ability to mix in certain words in certain times. One's Jay Maisel and the other's John P.
Uh-oh.
We're somewhere, we're doing image reviews, and somebody put an image up, and there were no women in the room, thank God. And John looks over at this guy and says, he says, you got to clean up this blankety blank blank in the corner. I won't use the terms, but I thought that was epic. That was my.
Yeah, I'm a stickler for details.
Yeah.
What can you say?
Okay, so I think everybody's sick of listening to our stories. What do you want to talk about, John? We want to be
Nothing.
serious. Anything?
Nothing. I just wanted to celebrate, dude. 100
The stories
episodes
are
is a
it.
lot of work.
The stories are the celebration.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, the other celebration is that John's back in a house.
Yay. I know. Feels good.
I'm almost in a house. I got.
And since Jack is soon going to be living in Tennessee,
Oh, the view from his front porch.
it's beautiful.
Do
Yeah.
they
Oh
make
my
do they
gosh.
make like squirrel cookbooks or anything that we could send to Jack as a housewarming gift?
Yeah,
I'm
he's gonna
looking
have
for
to-
one now.
have to learn squirrel.
They do.
Squirrel and
Of course they do.
possum and
There's
Shouldn't
Actually,
be
we
hard to
can
find one
catch 'em.
of those in a country store in Tennessee or Kentucky.
He's just up at the Seymour Diner.
yeah. You just walk out.
They
and
have a whole library shelf full of them there.
You just pick them up in the morning. You don't have to go.
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
they talk about fresh food and there you go.
If you can get to him for the turkey vultures, I mean, you're
Well-
you gotta get up early.
All right. So
As long as they're not cold and stiff, they're okay on the side of the highway.
Jim Begley tells a story that needs to be repeated here. He told me one day that he dreamed that he died and went to heaven, and he was at the Golden Gate and he was talking to St. Peter, and here comes Chris Clapeek down the trail with the ugliest woman he'd ever seen. And he said, St. Peter, I know that guy. And St. Peter said, it's okay, he's here. But he did some bad things when he was on earth, and he has to be with that woman for 5 years in heaven. Jim Begley said, wow, that's amazing. Said he'd no more than said that till, here came my good buddy from Washington State down the trail, and he was with a woman even uglier than the one that Chris was with. And he said, St. Peter, I know that guy. He said, yeah, he's here. He made it to heaven, but he did some bad things. He has to be with that woman for 10 years in heaven. He said, man, that's something. Well, he said he no more than said that till down the path came Bill Fortney, and he was with Bo Derek. And he said, St. Peter, I know this guy too. And he said, yeah, yeah. Said, well, said Bo Derek did some bad things when she was down there.
Hey, Raquel Welch
I
died.
kind of lucked out on that.
Bill, I'll never forget. I'm not going to repeat the joke, but you and me and Jack are driving down the side of a mountain on the Smokies, and you told an off-color joke, and we all laughed. And then you spent the next 45 minutes apologizing for that.
Well, I'll tell you, you told a joke in the car one day.
Oh, no,
that-
we can't do
No,
that.
we can't tell.
No, but it was disgusting. And I couldn't help it. I mean, I was about to pass out. I was laughing so hard. And I was feeling guilty as all get out. And I kept saying, God, that's still one of the best jokes I've ever heard.
Yeah.
We still tell it on we tell it on every workshop, you know.
Humor is such a valuable thing, guys. I think it
is.
helps you live longer and live happier when you can, and if you can laugh at anything. And if you run workshops, you better learn how to laugh.
You should, yes, but without looking over your shoulder.
I talked to a guy in the Caribbean once. I was down there working with Nikon trying to set up a scuba diving class. And we were discussing what it's like to have workshops and people ask kind of stupid questions. And I said, what's the stupidest question you've ever heard? He said it was actually about 3 nights ago. We were sitting on the dock, getting ready to do a night dive, dangling our legs over the edge of the dock, right at the water. And the guy next to me was getting his stuff together, and he turned, he said, how far are we above sea level? He said, I looked at him and said, about 18 inches. So it's, there's some strange people out there.
I'm learning this camera is backwards, so if I point that way.
Jack's backwards.
Okay.
All right, Jack, one last point, and then we'll wrap it up.
Dudley, you never told the story. You got to do a story.
Well,
No, come on, Dudley. Yeah.
I got two things, I guess. One, 30 plus, I think it is, with Jack. But one of the first ones was in Monument Valley, which is great. And one of the participants there, we had one lady that had her Sherpa that went around her husband, and we could joke about we all needed a Sherpa, and Jack never volunteered, so we moved on from that. And then we also had Waldo, we called him. He's a Canadian that would come
Andre.
and we'd pull.
Andre.
Andre,
oh my gosh, Andre.
and he would just take off. And you never see him again or whatever. You might catch him on the hill. And at some point, Jack would honk the horns, and here 5 or 10 minutes later, he would show up. But I guess the main thing was say that I think I owe Jack an apology, because I realize now that I've ruined it, because I've set this bar for nose hair photography so high.
That's true.
Oh no, Kenny G. We almost left Andre in Iceland that trip, Jack, and then we went forward to that river, and he was in that vehicle that floated down the river because the vehicle was above the rocks, and it floated down until they got some more rocks. But
yeah,
he survived that one.
He was, in fact, I get a note from Andre around Christmas every year. He lives up in Gatineau, which is right outside of Ottawa in Canada. And he's one of the nicest people I've ever had on a workshop. And actually, he was shooting Bill, you remember Andre? He was shooting that little Fuji 100.
Yep.
S, whatever it was, way before we.
What about his lens story?
Yeah. So this guy, we have him in Monument Valley, and he got lost, that he had to climb under a fence. So he took his camera bag off his shoulder, put the camera down, his lens down. It sat there, and he left his lens. He forgot to pick it up, and he walked away, shows back up. But this guy comes back. He used to do that same workshop every year. Comes back 2 years later to do the same workshop. We went out. We were out toward Vermilion Cliffs, Bill. He goes out to look for his lens in the same place. There's a Nikon lens 2 years later. Never got moved. So sat in the same place for 2 years.
Amazing.
Yes.
but it didn't still work.
It'll work. John, what do you have? Anything before we can say goodnight here?
No, just Kenny G.
There you go. I switched mine to Kenny G in the mountains.
We're Kenny G.
You know, guys,
The last Kenny G joke we're going to have to say is when I worked with Casio, which was another company that I represented and had the privilege to get thrown out of every camera store in Northern California with a Casio QA100, the first quote consumer digital camera way back when.
I remember that. Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The way we introduced it was John McDonald from Casio and I went to the Sharper Image and we tried to explain it to Richard Dahlheimer, who ran the Sharper Image, and nobody could get over the fact that where's the film and what do you do to get the picture? And finally, John said, well, I can't afford Time, I can't afford Newsweek, but I want the double truck, but I don't have a Playboy person, but I want to put this QA100 camera in there. This is about 1994, 95, around that time. And so we paid the money. He said, well, I can't make enough margin on these goddamn cameras that you're selling. There's no money in it. There's no profit. So tell me how much profit you want for every one that you sell. I'll supplement it. And that's how we got the double truck in the Sharper Image catalog to introduce digital cameras to the world.
Yeah,
Wow.
really.
Exactly. Those were great times. I came up through the consumer electronics businesses in the 80s and 90s, and I know exactly what you guys are talking about. It is just what a great time that was.
But the worst thing about being a Casio rep was Kenny G was our spokesperson for the electronic instrument that Casio created that was as big a piece of shit as he is.
Hey, Mike, would you explain that picture for the people who are not, and some people won't be looking at it, so you have to explain what the picture is.
Yeah, so we were
Yeah.
we were heading out to a sunrise shoot in the Tetons, and it was pitch dark. I mean, it was I don't know, 5 a.m. or whatever, like totally dark. And Jack was leading the way. We were following him, and all of a sudden we see taillights and probably half a dozen elk cross the road. Like we couldn't see him because it was pitch dark, and then Jack clipped the very last one, and it took out the whole front of the truck. So yeah, so
They passed, and I sat there for about another 15 seconds, 20 seconds, because it's usually one straggler, and I go, okay, they're all gone. And I was, I wasn't going very fast. I bet I was going 2, 3, 4 miles an hour. And the elk was okay. Elk just looked at me and gave me the paw, the finger, the hoof,
The hoof.
and my truck was a few $1,000s, as you can tell.
It wasn't the only truck that cost a few $1,000s, Jack.
Well,
You're lucky you escaped it.
Insurance paid the rest, So.
yeah.
Well, at any rate,
I still remember the Explorer.
maybe when we hit the 200th thing, we can do some John Pedersen stories. I mean, this is all.
Yeah, we haven't really roasted John.
I try to keep a low profile.
You do. We need to find something here. I'm sure there's something out there.
I'm like Teflon.
There's plenty.
Yep. All righty, folks. Well, Jack, any final thoughts?
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, I just want to say I could do this for another couple of hours. It's just great.
Yeah, I could do it for another couple of minutes, but it's 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, and I'm flying back to the Socialist Republic of Washington tomorrow. So, and I hear the weather's going to be horrible. So,
yeah, we're still in winter, but so guys that are here, thank you so much for coming on and joining Jack and I.
Thank you for having us.
To kind of celebrate our little milestone for what it is.
Congratulations, guys.
Many more, hopefully.
And we'll don't forget this YouTube thing will be up hopefully at some point. And then we have 2 other podcasts in the bag. We won't leave this up for too long, a couple of days. And we have 2 other really great guests that we have recorded that are going to make an appearance here magically in the next 2 weeks.
You bet. So awesome with that, Jack. Thank you for being my partner and going on this journey. It's been fun.
Yeah. And Bill,
See, grumpy East Coast
Grumpy
guy.
Jack, Grumpy Jack.
Grumpy
But I tell
Jack.
you, Don, you do have the highest resolution picture of Kenny G of anybody tonight.
I know, it's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's a close one.
Ooh, that's young Kenny. All right, guys, we'll before this turns ugly, we'll say goodbye and thank you all for listening and stay tuned for another 100 episodes coming up.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Bye, all. Take
Bye,
care.
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.